wanted to, in the film, and I wanted to in my movie, in my book rather, make understandable the emotional experience of combat. I had the idea, we had the idea, that that experience hasn't changed in hundreds, thousands of years. In my book, I really wanted, the sort of central emotional reality that I sort of discovered out there was this brotherhood. It was what allowed men to overcome their fear of what was going to happen to them personally. It allowed them to overcome their reluctance to kill. And it became something that was so profound and so strong that when they left Restrepo and went back to the pleasures of open society in Italy, they're based in Italy. And Restrepo, keep in mind, nothing that young men like is out there. Like, there's no women, there was no TV, there was no sports, there was no electricity for a while. You didn't bathe for a month at a time, there was no hot food. There was absolutely nothing that was even vaguely engaging except combat. And it was hard, it was flies and tarantulas, and it was incredibly hot, incredibly cold. I mean, it was just hell, right? And they got back to Italy, to all the things that they'd missed for 15 months. And they didn't have internet, they didn't have no communication with the outside world. No, they were out there for 15 months, right? They could call home once a month when they went back down to the main base. They got back to Italy, and after a few weeks of sort of boozing it up and whatever else you can imagine, they missed it. They missed Restrepo. They wanted to go back. And what they were missing was, in my opinion, society kind of pathologizes it, like, oh, they're addicted to combat. They're adrenaline junkies. What they were addicted to was brotherhood. In my opinion, that's what they missed. And that's what they couldn't reproduce here. And so I wanted to write a book that talked about that, because I don't think society understands it. So once you start doing that, and we did a kind of equivalent thing with the movie, suddenly you're completely outside of the political discussion. I mean, discussion is the polite word, like the political discussion about the war that's happening in this country and that must happen. You're completely outside of that. And so you can run the risk of sort of being, questioned for how, war is a terrible thing. How can you not denounce it morally in your film or in your book? If you fail to denounce it, is that in effect a sort of de facto acceptance of war? Are you supporting the war because you're not criticizing it? Like, the conversation gets very, very complicated. But Tim and I really tried to stay true to this sort of neutral credo as a journalist. Like, as a journalist, you're not going to, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be objective. You're going to bond with those guys after a year. You're just going to. You're not going to see the Taliban's political agenda with objectivity compared to the United States. It's just not going to happen, right? It didn't happen in World War II. It didn't happen in the Civil War. It's not going to happen now. But you can be neutral. And that was what we wanted to be, is just show reality. At times it was a great struggle, and at other times it was the most obvious thing in the world to try to do.
Also, it's kind of interesting to understand that